Yeah, because the bombs are going off in this environment where people are living in tents in the dirt, the wounds are really dirty. So the first part of the operations that we're doing is to try and clean those wounds up. And then we would normally clean it, dress it, and get the patient back again in a 48 hours. And if everything was clean, then we would try and reconstruct them. But if they weren't, we would do another, what we would call a debridement. But what was happening was, because the wounds were so dirty and because the patients were so malnourished, because obviously no food had been into Gaza since the 2nd of March. And it was very difficult to get the wounds to heal. One of the first things that's affected by malnutrition is your immune system. So the patients were really slow to heal and unable to fight any infections. And because the wounds were so dirty, the infection rates were very high. And then because we've had no aid in since the 2nd of March, we're running out of antibiotics. So we only had 3 types of antibiotics at our disposal, and none of them were the sorts of antibiotics that I would usually use in the United Kingdom to treat those sorts of infections. So you have all of these factors compounding the problem, and it's just impossible to get anyone healed and out of hospital. It's a massive challenge. And as quickly as you're operating, they're coming through the doors. It's like a conveyor belt. They just don't stop coming through the doors. The kids are the worst because obviously they're so young, and the war is being, justified on a offensive against a terrorist organization. But actually, I'm not seeing terrorists on the operating table. I'm seeing small children. So it makes it very hard to understand how we can continue down this path. And some of the children have such horrific injuries. And then you realize, well, we're in Gaza and we don't have the equipment we need. We don't have the theatre time we need. And we don't have the support post-operatively that we need to do the complex recon that we can do in the UK. I think the real thing that I saw this time is that the Palestinian people are really at the worst level I've ever seen them. Lots of my colleagues said to me on this trip that they would rather die than carry on in this war. And that's heartbreaking to hear. And I think that Palestinian resilience that everybody says they have is really waning now. And I'm not sure how much more of this they can take. I mean, I can only tell you what I see, but what I see gets disputed. So I was taking patients on that Sunday morning when the GHF aid distribution shooting occurred. And the numbers of casualties were disputed immediately. And I can tell you, I saw 28 dead people, and I saw at least 200 people with gunshot injuries or injuries from running away from that event. And that's what I saw. And I have footage to prove that. So it's very hard to listen to what's being said. I would like to go back to Gaza. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be allowed to go back to Gaza, because obviously it's up to COGAT who coordinate the activities in the occupied Palestinian territories, and they're part of the IDF. But they really need a plastic surgeon in Gaza. There's no plastic surgery training program there at the moment, so all the work is being done by some general surgeons that know a few plastic surgery skills. And the actual the 3 plastic surgeons that were trained outside of Gaza that are Palestinian have all been forced to leave. So they really need a plastic surgeon at the moment. Well, we go with the United Nations and the WHO, and we're on their humanitarian convoy that goes into Gaza every Tuesday and every Thursday. And there are about 25 seats on the bus, and that's how the NGOs get their staff in. Only a few seats go to doctors, so probably on each convoy would be 5 or 6 doctors. But what's been happening since the ceasefire is at least 50% of all the doctors that apply to go in get denied entry. So this trip was supposed to be in February for us, but we all got denied entry when we turned up in Amman in February to try and get in. Kogat refused to let all 4 of us in.